So, if you are thinking about living in or traveling to Mauritius, you are going to want to watch this video until the end so I can give you some details. My name is Tiffany. I'm in Mauritius as a digital nomad entrepreneur and have been here for about a year. And there are some things I want to tell you about living, traveling, touring this country. It's so beautiful, but let's get straight to the point here. Number one, Mauritius is extremely diverse. And so if you're looking for like the local population that was here first, you're not gonna find them, because everyone that is in Mauritius was either brought here in some type of enslavement or they were brought here as an indentured servant. From there, we have people that just started to come as tourists, or people that were coming from China, from, like India, from Bangladesh, all these different demographics of people. It is super diverse, okay? And so I just want you to understand that. I could compare it to maybe places in America, but I'm from Ohio and I've spent a lot of time in Florida and Indiana as well, but it still wasn't as diverse in any of those states as it is here. Like when I say Mauritius is diverse, especially if you're in the north where a lot of the tourist things are, some of like the expat communities, you're gonna see a lot of different people, and you may even think at first that you don't see any locals, and you'll see more locals if you live towards the center or south of the island. Now, we stayed in the south of the island when we first landed, and it was actually totally different than this northern area, and it was very cool. It was very nice. It was very local. They have their different temples and things, but I do enjoy the north much more. I just do. I absolutely do. Now, my next point is, so I was talking about it being super diverse, then I went into tourist heavy. So that was points 1 and 2. Let's go into point 3, which is how advanced it is compared to other African countries, because we've traveled the Swahili coast. Mauritius is extremely advanced in terms of medical infrastructure, road infrastructure, internet infrastructure. I mean, we pay a wonderful price for our internet that comes with our house, and it was just bundled in so that we don't have to pay all these extra utilities. We have this one price, and it's very nice. It's way different than America. In America, you have your gas bill, your electric bill, this, that, the other thing, then all that other stuff. And here, for the house that we have and the luxury service we've been getting, everything has been bundled in to make our lives way easier. Okay, that's that higher infrastructure. That type of stability can take place when you have systems in place that work, when you're a country that is on the least corrupt countries in Africa list. This is why we always preach this list to you. This list matters big time. One of Africa's hugest deterrents to success is the corruption. Why do we say this? Because as entrepreneurs and people that raise children, we know that anytime there's corruption in a setting, the place cannot progress. So parks will not be built, infrastructure will not be put in place, real estate will be sliding. Everything suffers when there's too much corruption in a place, versus if you come to a country where they say, look, we're not even going to deal with corruption. No, nobody's taking bribes out here. It's just they say what the rate is, they say what's going to happen, and they actually follow through and do it, which makes your life easier, because you don't have to have all these expenses coming at your head, and you're like, why, what is all this stuff? And then they angry because you ask them what the expenses are, and you're like, sir, you're being corrupt. What are all these expenses? You don't have to deal with any of that here. There's not this greediness that's present in a lot of other countries. There's a certain level of greed that is very much present in some countries in Africa. Mauritius, you don't see that. Most locals are doing well off. Most locals, and when I say well off, they have their food, they have their house, they have their car, they're just chill. They're good. They go to the beach, they go do whatever. They may go to the botanical garden, they may go to see some other thing, because there's lots of stuff out here. They may take their children to the mall, to the arcades, to the mall that has a lake, look. I can get into some more of the luxury attractions here, but this is not what that video is about, so I'm going to get back on topic. Number 4, it is the best visa and residence in Africa, and that you can find on the face of the earth. Now, you may be like, girl, how do you know? Because, girl, I looked it up, okay? I looked it up. Why did I look it up? Because I'm a digital nomad, and I will continue to be a digital nomad. And so I want to know what visas and residents are going to be best for digital nomads across the earth. And you know what I could find? Mauritius outdid everybody. Now you may say, how do you know it outdid everybody? Well, I have a few requirements. I look for longevity of stay. I look for whether or not an American can go there visa free and apply for the visa in the country. I look for the safety of the country. And I also look for the ease to transition to a self-employed entrepreneur residence, or to transition to permanent residence through real estate, which you can do in Mauritius. Or I look for what country has a 10-year self-employed entrepreneur visa, and the only one is Mauritius, okay? Now I could break that down further, but we're gonna go to the next point. Number 5, island life is slow. Just like in sub-Saharan Africa, just like maybe in other parts of the world, but I've only traveled America and Africa, and island life is slow. I really enjoy that. Having spent a lot of time in East Africa and just loving that pole, like slow lifestyle, I was happy to find here that they also have the pole, slow lifestyle, okay? Like island life is no worries, everything's good. Now stuff will be closed early on a Sunday. Stuff will not always be open. People will not be doing overtime for you. So if you are looking for somebody to do overtime for you, you're not going to find it on this here island. So if you want overtime, maybe stay in America, because we ain't doing overtime in Africa, okay? Number 6. I love that many African people like Nigerians, Ghanaians, Cameroonians, South Africans, probably people from Kenya as well, can come here, come on a study visa. So they'll get their bachelor's, they'll get their master's, their PhD, and they live here long term, like 3 to 5 years plus. And then they have the choice, like if they want to go into construction, if they want to go into finance. There's a lot of work opportunities for Africans. And you know, that's why I say Mauritius is actually very Pan-African, because they actually do the work and the results of partnering with different African countries, allowing them to come here to study and work without harassing them. You know, I've heard horrible stories of East Africa, like East African countries, when like somebody comes from Nigeria, they'll make fun of them, they'll harass them, they'll say, oh, we don't like Nigerians. And it's like, y'all, you know, you're all African, right? We're all African. So why would you treat your West African brother like that? I have not seen that here. And that really made me joyful. It gave me hope, because I mean, after leaving East Africa, it was kind of like, I see why some of my cousins end up leaving Africa after a while, because it's so twisted. But it's like, no, not every country is twisted. It's just those specific countries. So if you're someone that's in East Africa, if you're someone that's in, you know, wherever you are in Africa, and you're like, man, I just feel like I have no hope in this country that I'm in, please explore Mauritius, Seychelles, Botswana, Namibia. There are different countries that have different rules, different cultures, that are not big on corruption, that are not big on xenophobia, that do not secretly hate their own people, okay? Number 7, entrepreneurs are needed big time, okay? So I really wish there was more delivery services here. You know, and y'all know I'm not huge on convenience, but I do wish I could get like my favorite matcha boba tea delivered without me having to go and get it. I do wish, you know, that there are a few other things here that are present in, you know, like South Africa and Tanzania, but this is good for entrepreneurs, because you can come in with your self-employed visa and you can start these initiatives, serve the local community, and it's just a beautiful place to be able to work together. With that, you can also go to workspaces if you're a digital nomad, like Workspace 17. There's like a Scale Day Nord up here in the north area, where you can literally just have your office space. If you want to have an office outside of your main house, that's totally possible. They have different office spaces you can work at, and they're quite affordable. You could pay like $150, $200 per month for that office space. Use that as your business address and call it a day, right? Number 8. There is so much to do in Mauritius. Is number 8. It's an island. And you're like, oh, this little tiny dot in the middle of the ocean. No, ma'am, no, sir, it's not tiny. We have a lot to do out here. We've not even experienced everything. We went to the zoo and didn't even experience the whole zoo, okay? And so when I tell you there's so much to do out here, you have the Casella Zoo, you have the 7, I'm gonna say this wrong, the 7 Carmel Earth. Somebody Mauritian, drop a comment if I said that wrong. Please forgive me. But it's like this place in the south that has these 7 different colors that almost looks like rainbow sand, okay? It's very cool. We have not been there yet. You have the botanical garden, which we have been to. Absolutely phenomenal. I loved it. You guys know I love nature. I love hiking. So that botanical garden was just amazing, immaculate. And then there was like an amazing restaurant that was right across the street from it, Mauritian owned. Very good. The lady was so welcoming. She was just so happy. She was like, if you have American friends, tell them about this restaurant. I was like, girl, I sure will. Okay, and that food was delicious. Now, let's go on to number 9 and 10. Stability and peace. And then number 10 is how oddly familiar it is. Mauritius is oddly familiar to me coming from America, because a lot of the African American community in America may be mixed with like Puerto Rican, or may just be mixed in general. And so there's this different look that you don't see a whole lot in like Tanzania or Kenya, but here I see that a lot. I see people that look like they're mixed with like Mauritian and like African, or that Mauritians in general just have this look that looks like they're mixed. And it's very beautiful, and it's very wonderful, and it's very familiar to me. I mean, I even have a sister-in-law that's mixed with Puerto Rican and just regular African American, right? And so that's something that was very familiar. Mauritius, for that reason, for us coming from America, feels very similar. The people look very similar, like the Mauritian people look very similar to us. Then of course the infrastructure is fantastic. There's not a whole bunch of like random corruption, and so it's oddly familiar, which I found so strange because it's an island nation that I'd never been to, never even heard of before 2022, okay? But it seems so peaceful and familiar, and the stability here is unmatched. It's something that I had not found in East Africa, the stability and peace here. It's even hard to describe. Like, you really just have to be here to experience it. Like, the safety, it's so crazy safe. There's virtually no theft and no robbery, or at least in this area that we are in. It's so peaceful. People just get along. Nobody's like harassing you, begging you for money. You know, somebody may up the price on you and you negotiate and tell them like, no, that's not the right price. I pay this price typically. And that's that. You may come into a little bit of that, maybe with like a taxi or something like that. But for the most part, Mauritius is so peaceful and stable. My husband and I talk about this all the time. Like, wow, our marriage, our family, our business, like everything has thrived immensely here. Whereas in other parts of the world, it seemed like things were an uphill battle or an uphill struggle for no reason. And I want to tell you that because we're really starting to understand it really does matter where you are in the earth. And you guys know we already talked about that, being that we don't enjoy being in the West, but it really does matter the society and culture that you live in. When you live in a society that is just upright and just very chill, very relaxed, it makes for such a peaceful, stable life. Like, it's really unmatched. You can live this peaceful, stable life, and it is really unmatched. And so if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, leave a comment, share, subscribe, do whatever you would like to do, ma'am, sir. Let me know what your questions are down below. What next video would you like to see about this island country that I call home now? Shalom, shalom.